Hey guys, welcome back. Today I want to talk about making room. And I have several different kind of levels of things to talk about. Not necessarily purging, but beginning of the year is kind of a time when everybody's decluttering and all of that kind of stuff, getting ready maybe for spring cleaning or whatever. Just a good start to the new year, cleaning out old stuff, getting rid of it, and lightening the load. So as I've been thinking about that, I've thought about three different kinds of things that are just hanging around that really need to go. So I wanted to kind of share with you what I was thinking and just see if any of this rings a bell or uh, feels familiar to you guys. I like to cross stitch, and one of the things that I have to cross stitch is something that I have had literally over 30 years. When I was living in Texas, going to school out there, I bought lots and lots of cross stitch patterns, and I did a lot of them. And then I was getting a cross stitch magazine, and I found a pattern in there that I thought, I've got to do that. That is so cute. And it is a little town square afghan. I'll show you, try to show you that a little bit. Isn't that cute? Now, I don't know if that appeals to you, but I think it's adorable. And I thought it was adorable when I saw it. And it was one of those where they were doing it month to month. You get a couple of patterns, a couple of squares every month throughout the year. And at the end of the year, they give you the center part, which is the fountain and all of that kind of stuff. And you finish it, and you've got this really cute afghan. Well, I had all of the patterns except the center one. But I carried this pattern around with me. I brought it to Florida when I moved back here, and I have no idea where all I've kept it. Boxes, bags, under the bed, in a closet. I've just held on to it because I thought it was so cute and I wanted to do it. And one day I got online and actually found the missing issue that I needed, contacted the person that had it, bought it, got it, added it to the stack of stuff that I was just keeping for whatever reason. One day I was going to do it. I still have it. I pull it out every once in a while, and I have worked on it a little bit. I'll try to show you. Little church, little flower shop, drugstore. Okay. That's all I've done in 30 years. But I have managed to keep this with me all this time. That's my ring. Somebody's at the door. I don't know who that is. But anyway, I got to thinking about it, and as I look at it, I just think it's really cute, but I'm not going to do it. I don't want to do it anymore. It's cute. If I had it complete, I would keep it, but I don't, and I don't want to keep it half done, or not even half done, maybe a 16th done. It's just lying around taking up space, and every time I go through my cross-stitch stuff, I go through the same thing in my head. Why am I keeping this? Do I want it? I don't want it. Anyway, I'm done with that. It's going. Have a Ziploc bag. It is all going in that, and it's going in a box to get donated. And hopefully somebody else who loves cross-stitch and needlework will pick it up and love it and have fun with it, and I hope so. But I just kind of decided 30 years was enough time. More than enough time. If I haven't done it in 30 years, probably not going to do it now. And I'm not. But I'm tired of hanging on to it, so I'm going to let it go. You guys may have some stuff like that in your house. You may have a lot of stuff like that in your house. So maybe now's the time to get rid of that. One other thing that I have thought about is less tangible, but it is something that's been on a bucket list for me for probably since high school or college, and that is going to nursing school. I have crazy mad admiration and respect for nurses. I have, over the years, between hospice and home health and other things, worked with some of the most amazing nurses on the planet. Seriously. And it's always been in the back of my head to go to nursing school. And I have always thought, well, I don't know how I'm going to make that happen. Maybe one day, maybe when I retire, that could be a second career. I don't know. But it's just kind of always been there. And it takes up some time and it takes up some bandwidth and brain space all of these years, kind of thinking about how I'm going to make it work. And I realized over the last few months that I'm just kind of like, I don't really want to do that anymore. I still love nurses, always love nurses, but I don't want to be a nurse anymore. I would love to have the skills, but I honestly don't want to go to school again that long. I don't want to study that hard, and I don't want to be that responsible for somebody's life. So that is something that I have, I think, been trying to let go of for a little while. I took some classes a few years back, some prereq classes, and I loved that. I loved being in the classroom and learning, taking notes, all of that. I loved that part of it. And I think I always will. I think I will at some point take some other classes just about something that I like. But nursing school is going to go off the list. I'm able to let it go now and not feel like I've missed something or I've let myself down. It's just things have changed. My life has changed. My focus has changed. The things that I want to do, those things have changed. And so I don't want to hold on to something just because I've had it for a long time. I've had that bucket list thing longer than I've had that dang cross stitch. So I think it's time to let it go. And I'm able to do that. I'm happy with it. I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I feel like there was a reason that God did not direct me into nursing school right out of high school. I was not anywhere near mature enough to handle that kind of thing or to handle people and things that I would have encountered. I would not have done well with it. And God is wise about that. And so just kind of directed me away from that into another area of helping as my career. And so I think it's good to kind of look at things like that have always been on a list and always taken up kind of some time in our thoughts and maybe even actions. If you have something like that you try to prepare for or do a lot of thinking about or reading about or praying about, whatever, and it takes up a lot of your time and thought processes, maybe it's time to reevaluate something on your list like that. I don't know if you have anything like that on your list, but there may be a couple of other things on mine that I need to look at. I don't know. But right now, that's the big one. And so I'm really kind of letting it go. And it feels good just to say, okay, I don't ever have to spend time or worry about how I'm going to do this or plan for it or what's that going to look like. I just don't have to do it. And that feels really good. So think about what's on your list, some things that maybe you've always wanted to do. Sometimes you need to go back and look at those things and just kind of reassess. Do I want to do it because I still want to do it? And if you do, that's fine. I'm the last person to say don't do something on your bucket list. If there's something on there you want to do, find a way to do it if you still want to do it. But just because it's always been on your list, maybe it's time to think about whether or not you've changed your mind or your interests have changed and you're just dragging it along because you've always carried it. I don't know. But it's freeing to let that go and to be able to say, you know what, it's time to focus on other things that I want to do and that I want to spend my time and energy on. So there's that. And then the other thing is way more abstract a little bit, actually a lot. It is, there may be some things in your life and in mine that you've held on to for a long time. And it's really time to kind of reassess and maybe spend some time with Jesus on those things. It could be somebody that you need to forgive. It could be somebody that you need to ask forgiveness from. And you've just been carrying that weight around a long time. It could be something that God has been talking to you about, just kind of talking to your heart about for a long time. And you've never done it. You've never just said, okay, I know this is what you want me to do. I'm going to do it. It could be letting go of something or someone that is toxic in your life, that is keeping you churned up and stirred up and angry and upset, anything like that. Could be a person, could be a thing, could be a dream. I don't know. Could be a habit that God has been talking to you about and you've just kind of been under conviction about for a little while, that maybe it's time to deal a little more directly with God on that. For me, there are two things in my life that can rise to the level of addiction. One of those things is food, and another one of those things is reading. I love to read. In fact, I love to read so much that there are times when I have actually chosen reading over eating. Now, to me, that, that's like a victory. If I could choose anything over eating. Sometimes I do choose going to sleep over eating, but most of the time not. But those two things in my life could easily become addictions, and have in the past, and maybe now. I think sometimes when you have trouble putting something down, that's pretty significant. There's a series that I've been reading that's really good. It's not from a Christian writer. It's a little bit edgy, but that doesn't bother me so much. And edgy is really, that is very subjective. What might be edgy to one person might not be a big deal at all to another person. So I get that. But right in the middle of this series, and I get really invested in the characters, especially if they're in a series. I love that. I love to see how they grow and change and things that happen to them. So I get all into that. But right in the middle of this series, she's written one that was, the last one that I read was just a little too much even for me. And it made me like really feel not good. And God just kind of, sometimes when you're when you're doing something or reading something or watching something that you just think, maybe I don't need to be watching this. Not because it makes you a bad person when you do that, but because it's not good for you. When you read or watch something and it sticks in your head and it makes you feel bad, why do that? Well, the next book in the series is out, and she has, for whatever reason, these two books are just kind of over the top, and she's already like warned her readers, this may be not, Well, I haven't bought it. I'm not going to buy it, and most of the time I'm okay with that, but sometimes I can just kind of get in a struggle with myself, and I think, I've already made this choice, so why am I dealing with this? Why am I having to struggle with this again? And I can say, well, I just don't want to miss the dynamics of the characters, and I don't want to miss the ongoing story, and I don't. Those are true things, but it's not enough for me to get that book and read that book and put that stuff in my head. It's just not. And I wish I could say that that decision is made and I won't struggle with it again. I can say that decision is made. I'm not going to buy that book. I'll skip it. And when the next one comes out, she's going to be back to what she normally does. And I can, it'll be okay. But that, I know there will be times when I'm going to be really tempted to hit that button and get that little Kindle book immediately and start reading because I don't want to miss anything. And when you get invested more in the characters in a book than you are in the people around you, that's not really a healthy thing. So that's really something that I just, I feel convicted about, but I struggle with. I know, I understand why God says, you don't need to do that. You don't want to put that stuff in your head. It's not going to make you feel good. It's just going to be there all the time. Why do that to yourself? I have better things for you to put in your head, and better things for you to focus on, and better things for you to concentrate on, and those kind of things. So I don't know if any of that resonates with you. If there's something that you are struggling with putting aside, getting out of your life, kind of just cleaning up in the corners, not just getting the stuff that makes everything pretty, but really getting in the corners and under things and moving furniture around and really doing a deep clean. That's what I'm doing right now. The cross stitch and the bucket list thing, those have their own level of difficulty. But when you're talking about something a little bit heavier than that, a little bit deeper, those are the harder things. And I am just praying for God to keep me focused on Him and what He has for me and why I don't need to do that thing. So I hope if there's something that you're struggling with right now that really just is taking up space in your heart and space in your head, that you will really kind of spend time praying, thinking, journaling, whatever you need to do, talking to a friend, talking to a mentor, somebody who can help you process that and work through that, or just hold you accountable. That's hard. That's the hard part. I don't want anybody to hold me accountable because I don't want to have to answer to somebody who says, have you bought that book? You still haven't bought that book, right? I don't want, it's uncomfortable to be accountable to people, but sometimes that's what we need to, because sometimes that's the thing that keeps us from doing the wrong thing, is when we know we're going to have to answer for it. And that may be the only thing. I'm not doing it not because I want to do the right thing, but because I know I'm going to have to confess if I do it. So whatever, I don't know what is in your heart and what's in your life, but I think always, as long as we're on this earth, there are going to be things that we need to kind of weed out and sometimes dig out of our lives. And those are hard things, especially when we like them. I mean, we just be honest, food, obviously, we're not even going to talk about food, but the reading for me, what I'm reading, what choices I'm making about that, that's a hard thing for me. Sometimes, honestly, harder than food. So that's what I'm working on right now. I am very grateful for God's grace in those matters because He knows where we struggle. There are a couple of places in the Bible where it says, and I should have those, but I don't have them memorized, and I don't have them for this. But where it says He knows we're dust. He knows how fragile we are. He knows our weaknesses. He doesn't condemn us for those things. So if you struggle and fail, and struggle and fail, and struggle and fail, know that God's grace covers that. Know that He esteems the fact that you try and that you're concerned about it and that you want to be obedient and make good choices for yourself. And know that He loves you. Bottom line is, it doesn't matter if you fail. I could buy that book and read it this afternoon, and God would not love me one iota less. Not one. But I would struggle with what I put in my own head. And so I think sometimes, God gives us boundaries, not because crossing those boundaries makes us bad, but because He knows what's good for us. So whatever you're struggling with, and we all have stuff, don't think you're the only one. Don't think you can't share it because people will be horrified if they know what you're struggling with, because there's always somebody out there that's struggling right along with you with the same thing. Find somebody that you can talk to if you need to. Somebody that, number one, will keep your confidence, that you know whatever you tell them is not going to be on Facebook in an hour after you finish your conversation. And someone that can pray with you and for you and guide you and mentor you and hold you accountable, not so they can chalk up your failures, but just so they can give you that little bit of incentive and motivation to say, okay, I really want to have to confess this tomorrow. There's always something, and there always will be things that we struggle with. For me, if I am successful with this, with my reading choices, there'll be something else that I struggle with that God brings to my attention. There's always going to be something. It's not a bad thing. Those things keep us dependent on God. They keep us talking to Him. They keep that relationship close if we let it. And I think that's where grace comes in, because if we're not careful, those things that we struggle with can cause us great shame. And when Adam and Eve, if you remember that story, when Adam and Eve sinned, it's like their eyes were open and they knew they had done wrong and they were ashamed and they hid from God. And for whatever reason, that tends to be our first reaction, doesn't it? When we do something wrong, when we make a bad choice, we stop praying, we stop, we just don't want to look at our Bible because we don't want anything that reminds us that we've done wrong. And we sure don't want to sit down and talk to God about it because we're ashamed. And we don't have to be. God's grace says we don't. His grace says, you know what? You messed up this time. Let's try again. You always get another chance. Tomorrow's another day. This hour is a new hour. You messed up. It's behind you already. Let's go from here. God's grace is always going to be like that. And so don't let shame, if you fail, if you stumble, whatever you want to call it, don't let shame keep you from talking to God, because He wants to walk with you through this. He wants to help you with your struggle. He wants to talk to you about it like a friend and a mentor, to say, you know what, if you mess up, let's try again. Here's what will help you this time. So I hope that this helps you maybe think about a little bit of stuff, some tangible stuff that you can hold in your hand and maybe need to let go of because you've just taken it as a pet and might as well give it a name. You've had it so long. It's time to let it go. It's amazing how free that makes you feel, not just because you've gotten stuff out of your house, but because you don't have to deal with it in your head anymore, So just let it go. Free up that space in your head and your heart for the things that God has for you to do. And He has stuff for you to do. He has purpose. He has plans. He has stuff He wants to talk to you about. He has direction where He wants you to go. And He's just waiting for you to talk to Him about it and listen and be ready to move when He says move. And that is a life of grace right there. So I hope that maybe this gives you some things to think about and encouragement. And I hope that you have a very grace-filled week, walking with Jesus, getting some stuff out of the corners and clearing out some of the cobwebs. And I hope you will share your experience a little bit if you feel like it. Next week, I've had someone make a request to talk about a specific issue. And so I'm going to be working on that this week. And it really has to do with talking to God when we're angry with Him. I think we've all been there. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And I hope that you all will be praying with me about that, that I can listen to what God wants me to say and just know what to say that will be helpful, because I think we've all been there, and a lot of us may be there right now. So definitely not alone in that. So I appreciate your prayers about that. And I do thank you for watching again. Thanks for coming back. If it's helpful, you can share with somebody, let them know to come watch. And I will see you next time. Have a great week. Thank you.